Hi, welcome to Conversion Conversations. This is Cameron, and today I'm taking a look at Transformers Generations Legacy United Overcharge. Overcharge here is one of the final leader class figures. It's the Wave 5 leader class figure for Legacy United. This is a repaint of Legacy United Blitzwing, or maybe it was like Legacy Evolution Blitzwing, Legacy Blitzwing. But we've got Blitzwing in some like Diaclone colors here. We've got some accessories. We've got two guns. The guns are both molded pretty nicely on each side. I'm going to take those off. We've got a sword up top. Same thing as Blitzwing sword. It's soft plastic. It's bendy and malleable, but I do like the two-tone blue on it. That's kind of neat. We have these things that they're calling missile pods on the sides. They look all right. I recognize that Blitzwing's missile pods had paint on them to kind of match his like purple color a little bit. It's a shame that these don't have any maybe green or blue on them. They're just red. They do kind of stick out pretty separately from the toy. But then we have a tank, and as a tank, this thing rolls on casters pretty well. It does fit together pretty nicely. I feel like things button up pretty tight on him, but true to the original G1 Blitzwing design, we have this plain cockpit half sticking up front. I know people already said in the comments of the short that, hey, that's how it's supposed to look in G1. I recognize this is how he's supposed to look. It still looks dumb to me. I don't think it looks good, even if that's how it's supposed to be. But we have this green tank. We've got some like dark metallic bits, the black treads. We do have a turret that swirls. I do wish it could elevate. It's a bit of a shame that it feels like this is, out of all the Blitzwing toys we've gotten, this one does literally have an ability to elevate. I just wish it was possible to do that with this. Oh, no, it does. Okay, never mind. It's just, I guess it's a single hard detent. I wish it was detented a little more so you could get like that mid position. You can kind of stick it there. But overall, like the tank mode, I think looks pretty good. Yeah, we've got some jet exhaust on the back end. And back here, there's not really a spot for any effect pieces or anything. We do have some 5mm ports all around. But I'd say that as a tank, I'm pretty happy with it, with the exception of this piece. If a third party comes out, I know there was a cover piece for when Blitzwing came out that covered up this bit with like the tan front of the tank. If they do the same thing for Overcharge, I'd buy that because I think the tank is like almost pretty good. I'd say it's this is what's preventing it from being just the best Blitzwing tank mode. We do have two others to compare to. Here, again, a leader class figure. We have the Thrilling 30 Voyager class figure. And we have the Titans Return Voyager class figure. Now, obviously, Blitzwing colors. This is Hero Megatron or Archforce Megatron colors. These do have different benefits. On this mode, you can swivel the tank turret around. It also does have a missile that you can fire. I do really like that play pattern feature. Of course, as a tank, this is a little more futuristic and a little less solid than this piece. I think the Titans Return one is the most solid tank of them all. It does move around, but you have to contend with the Titans Return gimmick, which if you don't like the way that gimmick work, I can understand if this piece, if that's not for you. For me, being someone who does really like the gimmick, I dig this mode a lot, even if right now that piece is not cooperating with me. There we go. Yeah, I think this is currently my favorite of the tanks just because of how solid it is, how nicely it comes together, the paint, and then because I like Titan Masters, it's my favorite. But I do recognize that there are Blitzwing fans out there who don't want him to be a Titan Master, a Headmaster. So, you know, having the three of them next to each other, I think helps demonstrate one thing that's my biggest concern, which is price on this figure. You're picking it up at retail right now at $55. I managed to snag a holiday deal, so I got mine for $40. For $40, this is a little pricey for a Voyager, but it's a pretty good Voyager. I will talk about at the end whether I think this is worth it at the leader price point. All right, and then it is a triple changer, so let's get into some transformation. We're going to come in, and first thing we're going to do is separate out. We have these treads here. They can just come back on either side. Then with that, we can separate this section of the tank with this back section. There's a little slot right in there that we can just lift off on both sides. We can fold in if the wings didn't fold in already. We can lift up our tank turret, coming in and opening it up, flipping back our cannon, and flipping in on either side there. So we get kind of our little tank section, tank part kind of tucked away nicely. We're going to lift the whole assembly. It's on 2 tabs there, and it's on in 2 slots here. The whole assembly can come up and out of the way, which lets us get to our jet mode wings. We're going to split the legs, flipping out the wings on this side, flipping out the little wing on that side. Same thing over here. Flip out the little piece, flip out the big piece, keep our tank mode up and away as best as we can. And then we're going to just collapse it back together. The position of the wings doesn't change. We just wanted to fold them out. With that done, this first part, the front part of the tank treads can be separated. You can see here it's 2 pieces. We just split that out. It's a pretty tight connection, but it can be brought down on the arms, and there are tabs right here which can come down, and we can click into those on either side. Really the hardest part of this is just keeping this section like up. It's a pretty simple transformation once you actually get into it. But with that done, now we can bring down our tank section, and it's going to click back into place. So it's basically going to hold in the parts of the arms that have been tabbed in, covering those. Let's get that in. There we go. We can get our wheel section up front, and we can pin that back in. Actually, totally forgot. That is my foolishness. But we want to come in here and open up this section to get out our nose cone. There we go. Now we can close that up and around, get our landing gear out, collapse this part of the tank. I usually collapse it back. There are tabs on the sides here and on here that we can get in, folding up, kind of completing the shape of the wing. And here we've got our jet mode. From the top, I think it doesn't look that bad, right? We've got clear, like not clear, but clearly we've got the gray jet section. We've got the green tank section that's kind of hidden underneath. From the top, it's not a bad looking jet. We've got a little bit of blue accent. We've got Decepticon symbols on the wings, some yellow paint, some vents, the engines, intakes and exhausts. It looks pretty good, but from below, like, it's Blitzwing. It's hard to blame it. It's not a great looking jet mode from the side and below, but it's hard to blame Blitzwing just because you have to hide a tank somewhere. Like, you can't just avoid doing that. So I do kind of give it a bit of a pass. He can, of course, he's got all the same ports and features to hold the guns and swords. We're not going to worry about that, but there's one other thing we can do with the fists. If we come and bring them out and turn them into fists, like so, you can bring down, and let's see if we can do it without popping out the tank. You can bring down these sections of his exhaust, which reveals these 5mm ports, and you can peg the fists in here. And it kind of looks like, I don't know, Afterbird. I mean, I guess it's a place to store them. I don't think it looks good. I think, like, it's not a curved organic shape. It doesn't really look like fire coming out the back. And if it was, you've got a huge problem because your fire is like coming past the A8 area of your nozzle. Like, this would be a massive problem. This is no longer a jet. Now it's just a one-way missile. But like, it is a place to store them, so I appreciate that exists. In terms of jet mode, I do think the other toys did it better for different reasons. This is not a realistic jet mode, but I like how big this, like, it's like a Macross, like, fast pack kind of thing. I like how big the cockpit is. The wings are obviously too small, but the fast pack, like, if you're just putting 2 extra engines on your jet and you're turning it into like a scramjet style thing, that works for me in a goofy way that I like. This jet mode, I'd say out of all of them, feels the closest to aerodynamic. Obviously, you still have tank parts hanging out from underneath, but Titan's Return has the biggest wings. It has the sleekest profile. To me, this did the best. Plus, again, it has a Titan Master, so you got a little guy in the cockpit, and it scores points for that. So out of the 3 jet modes, I'd say Titan's Return, again, is kind of my personal favorite. But recognizing that this is like the G1 jet mode. And I like the colors a lot. I like the fact that I can own these 3 toys in very different color schemes. Like this, everything is kind of the same purple and black, and I like that it's a unified color scheme. As I realize I did not put out my, there we go. Black, kind of black, purple, and gray. And then these 2 obviously vary between tan in tank mode as the most prominent color, purple in jet mode as the most prominent color, and then gray in jet mode as the most prominent color, and then green in tank mode as the most prominent color. So I like that there's different options for Blitzwing toys, and Overcharge's colors do look really, really good. I like that color scheme a lot. To get things into robot mode, we're gonna come on the back, take off the fists, come in and separate out all the little parts of our tank, the front. There we go. And the back, put like these down and get, there we go. So we have this part section off. Then we can come in and we're gonna separate out these sections from the tank and just put them back where they were on either side, like so. Coming in, we can open up this flap, open up this flap. If I can get a nail in there. Flipping that down, flipping the head around, closing things back up behind, and flipping his head that way. Then we can take Overcharge's legs and we can straighten them out. There's tabs here that we want to make sure click in, bringing them down. There we go. Splitting the legs, and we're going to curl the wings back up because they're going to form nice little solid legs with no gaps, which I appreciate. Same thing on this side. Curling the wing around, flipping that section down. We can open up. There we go. Our feet. There is a tab here and a slot here. That just clicks in like so. Same thing on this side. Opening up the feet, clicking that tab in. And there we've got, you can see kind of the general shape of our robot. Next, we can come in on the arms. We're going to open up this panel here, rotating around the panel, and that gives us the room we need to flip out. There we go. The wrist, like so. Same thing over here, opening up that panel, rotating it, and flipping out the wrist, letting us cover up that gap with a panel, which is another nice little feature. It's not a perfect gap filler, but it helps. Now we've got all this tank mode in the back. We're gonna come in and we're just gonna close things up because this helps create our chest, does help fill him out pretty nicely. And the last thing is gonna be to flip out these wing sections. And here we've got Overcharge, and we can give him his sword. We can give him one of his guns. We could, stick the other gun somewhere on his back, I suppose. And it's, it's a decent, let me move my camera up a little bit. It's a decent looking leader, even if it's very small, but it's a pretty good looking Voyager. I think it's a nice and solid, chunky Voyager. It does have some issues. We do have a new head sculpt, which is interesting. I like the head sculpt, but it does feel very similar to Blitzwing, so I'm surprised we did get a head sculpt instead of just a straight up repaint. But if we see, like, that is pretty good neck articulation. It's on a double joint, but that articulation is not indicative of the rest of the figure. My biggest disappointment with Overcharge is going to be these shoulders. So we peg up these shoulder pieces, but they put the rotation joint inside the shoulder armor instead of making the shoulder armor rotate. So that means that, similar to like Laser Optimus Prime and stuff, we are very limited here. We can go, we can go up this far and we can go back, and that's about it. We can go out to the side, but it makes arm articulation very limited. There is bicep swivel. There is, elbow bend. There is wrist bend, which I do appreciate the wrist rotation, especially oftentimes it feels like when you have these flip out wrists, it is one solid piece, so there's no rotation. There is waist swivel, but the lack of shoulder articulation is a big disappointment. He can't quite do the full Van Damme. The splits stop short a little bit. There is thigh swivel. There is knee bend, which is nice and deep, but let's watch these knees. That is really unfortunate. There's just no ratcheting. It's pure friction. I've come in and I've already tightened this joint to try and help it out. I'm going to separate it out after this review, and I'm going to come in and try and do future floor polish to improve it. But the fact that there is not a ratcheting piece inside the green section that, like, look, you can see the detents in the gray, but the green needs something to grip into that detent. That is really, really unfortunate. We do have ankle tilt, which is nice. So the articulation is not great. It's got, a major loose point as well as a major limit for what is a leader class figure. And the whole point of the leader class figure that Hasbro was trying to sell us on was, hey, yes, these are going to be smaller, but the engineering is going to be better. And I think in my comparisons, what I've found is it is tighter and it is more massive. There is more mass here comparing to the previous Thrilling 30 Blitzwing and the Titans Return Blitzwing, Arch Force. There is more mass here, but it's like it's not doing much other than just being heavy. The mass isn't going to more, the engineering and mass isn't making the transformation more interesting. It's a little more complicated, but it's not accomplishing more in allowing for more articulation or a better looking alt modes or anything like that. That is the unfortunate thing for me. When Blitzwing first came out in Legacy, I didn't even check the toy out. Just because I was pretty happy with my other two versions. I figured in Overcharge colors, it's definitely worth checking out. The other thing this can do is we can stick these fists on. Can we stick these fists on? There we go. Which again, kind of, you know what? I think I did the wrong fist because I don't want that 5mm peg. There we go. That slightly helps with articulation if the fist will actually stay on. Let's see, there we go. And there we go. God, that was a lot of effort for something that looks dumb as hell. It doesn't add anything. Like, this was, right, they were doing this thing in Siege where they were doing these add-on pieces for leaders. Shockwave was a leader class figure, and he got a bunch of add-on pieces. And I like that Shockwave. I like the add-on pieces there because it helps make his alt mode look really interesting and like a cool space battleship. And then it makes him look like this weird, like, modified Transformer where he's been modifying his own body so much he's given himself extra arms and stuff. I like those pieces. This doesn't do the same thing. This just looks dumb. It's a waste of plastic. I was surprised they included it. I would have preferred if they got rid of them and just made it a Voyager price point, although I recognize they couldn't do that. As a leader, I think he falls short, right? His wave mate, which I've already reviewed way back during, Velocitron 500. Astro Train's mold is the better leader of the wave. If you want one, I think the Siege idea of these add-on pieces does so much more than this version. This is a step down. Even though they're about the same size, I appreciate the engineering here more. Even Sandstorm, who came out after, like if we're talking about just like triple changing leaders, I'd recommend either of these over this guy. Now, Sandstorm, even, I was like, he's kind of worth the leader class price point, but just barely. Legacy United Overcharge is not. I mean, it's in the name. You're being overcharged for what you're getting. The paint looks really good. The style and the colors look great, but it is not worth $55. Absolutely not. I would recommend waiting. Blitzwing was on stores, I think they were selling him on Amazon for $17 during the holidays. Overcharge, hopefully it doesn't sell that well and it gets similarly discounted. I got mine for $40 bucks. $40, I still feel like I paid a little too much for him, but that's better than $55. If you can wait and see if he'll go on sale for $35 bucks or $30 bucks, I think Overcharge is a cool Voyager, and you get some useless extra bits with him, and that's fine, and you fix up his knees, and he's a fun little toy. But for $55, it feels... it's not I'm taking it personally. I don't feel insulted, but it feels like I'm looking at Has where I'm come on, guys. I'm not doing that shit. So it's got me curious to see what, on the whole, it feels like Legacy has really hit it out of the park. It's been a good line. But this is just a reminder that the Blitzwing to me was a miss. I do want to recognize that if you're looking for a G1 Blitzwing or a Diaclone Diaclone Overcharge, this is the way to go. It looks super G1, but I think for me, I prefer the reinterpretations. I like the Transformers animated style head and things like that. I like the Titans Return play pattern. So it's cool, and I'm glad that I have Overcharge in these colors on my shelf, and I've gotten to check out the toy, but I don't think I'd recommend this to anyone. Well, that was a look at Transformers Generations Legacy United Overcharge, and then I think we're going to call this a review. We've got maybe some deluxes to look at next. We'll see if they arrive with the snowstorm and everything. I will catch you all later. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye!